Okay, so what we talked about yesterday was our vertical and horizontal lines. So real quickly, just to remind you, vertical lines always start with x equals something, and horizontal lines, their equations start with y equals something. Okay, so yesterday we looked at the graphs. Today we're actually going to graph them, which is why I told you to get a ruler. So here's what you do. Looking at this equation, y equals 3, automatically I know it's one of these horizontal. But let's say you forget that. All you got to do is you got to go to your y-axis, because this says y equals, go to the number 3 and put a point there. And then all you got to know is this point 3 is the only place on the y-axis that it crosses. So it has to go horizontally for it to cross right there. So that would make it a horizontal line, which we knew it was going to be. So take your ruler, line up with that line there. All you got to do is trace it. I use the ruler just to make it look better. But there you have it. That's a horizontal line, y equals 3. Okay, for example 2, again, because it starts with a y equals, I know it's going to be horizontal. I'm going to go to my y-axis at -4, put a point there, and then draw a horizontal line through that point. That's all there is to it. Yeah. Now, one thing that I want to add to this. What do you notice about this graph and this graph? What if I had put them on the same graph? For example, what if I just take this one and I move it over here? What do you notice about these two lines? They're parallel, exactly. They are parallel. Meaning they're never going to cross, right? They're never going to get closer together. They're going to stay this same distance apart if they kept on going. They are parallel. So here's the first point of the day. These are both horizontal lines, right? All horizontal lines are parallel to each other. All horizontal lines are parallel to each other. Which means, even without a graph, I would be able to know if this is a horizontal line and this is a horizontal line. I automatically know that they're going to be parallel. If they both say y equals and then a number, they're going to be parallel. Okay? So, example 3, I've got one that says x equals. Obviously, this is going to be what kind of line? Vertical line, because it's going to go through my x-axis. So I'm going to go to my x-axis at 2, put a point, and this one is going to be vertical, so up and down. So like that. For example 4, I'm going to go to my x-axis at -5, put a point, and again, it's going to go up and down. So, just like before, what do you notice about these two lines? They're never going to touch. These are parallel lines. If I have one vertical line that's going straight up and down, and then another vertical line that's also going straight up and down, no matter where these vertical lines are always going to be parallel. So just like what we put up there, all vertical lines are parallel to each other. Which simply means, even if I don't have them graphed, okay, if I gave you these two lines, x equals 2 and x equals -5, if I gave you those lines, you would automatically know, those are both vertical. That must mean that they're going to be parallel. But obviously you can see it on a graph as well. Alright, so on the back side, I've given you two lines for each graph. We're going to graph them, and then we are going to decide if they are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So, automatically looking at this, if they both start with y, I know that they're both going to be horizontal. And if they're both horizontal, then they must be parallel. But let's graph them. So we're going to go to my y-axis. Make sure you go to the y-axis. That would be 2. Draw a horizontal line. Okay, and for my other one, I'm going to the y-axis at -5. Horizontal line. And we already knew that they were going to be parallel, but don't they look parallel? They are. Okay, if you look at example 6, these do not start with the same letter, right? One starts with Y, one starts with X, meaning these are not going to be the same kind of line. One that starts with Y is horizontal. I'm going to abbreviate. And then one that starts with X is vertical. So let's graph these and see what happens. So I'm going to go to my y-axis at -3. That would be here. Put a point, and I know that it is horizontal. So side to side. For my other one, I'm going to go to my x-axis at 4 and go up and down, vertical. Obviously, this blue line and this blue line are not parallel. What do you think they are? Perpendicular. Does this look like a right angle? Sure it does. All of these look like right angles. This is a perfect cross. That's what we're looking for. So these are, in fact, perpendicular. As a matter of fact, something that I want you to notice right here. Anytime one of your lines is horizontal and the other one's vertical, no matter where it is, think about it. If I have one that's horizontal and then I have one that's vertical, they're always going to form a cross somewhere. So they're always going to be perpendicular. So if you ever have one that's y equals and one that's x equals, even without graphing them, those are going to be perpendicular. All right, I'm going to give you a minute to do examples 7 and 8, graph them, and then tell me if they're parallel or perpendicular, and then we'll do our worksheet.
Are we recording or are you recording? Aren't you supposed to be, why do I have on? Aren't you supposed to be recording?
I am recording.
Okay.
Because it says
Oh, that's weird. This always said in my head, I don't know why, it's just the beat of it.
Okay, so looking at example 7, I see that they both start with x. That tells me they're going to be parallel, right? So, first thing is, I'm going to go to my x-axis at -1. And hopefully you remember x equals something is vertical, so up and down. My other one is I'm going to go to -5, up and down. And you can, in fact, see that they are parallel. Okay, for example 8, you noticed they're different, meaning one's x, one's y, they're not parallel. These are going to be what? Perpendicular. So if I go to my x-axis at 2, and then I go up and down, and then I go to my y-axis at -1, and I go side to side. Voila! Do they form a perfect right angle? Yes, they are perpendicular. Alright, so let me explain a little bit on these directions. Okay, on the worksheet, there's like three different sections here. For the first 4 problems, 1 through 4, I have given you the lines already. All I want you to do is write the equation. So, you have to decide if it's going to be x equals or y equals. And here's how you decide that. Look at your line. This is horizontal, right? If you forget which one of these is horizontal, all you have to do is ask yourself, which axis is this crossing? This is crossing my y-axis, so I know it's going to be y equals. The question is, what number is it going through? So it's y equals -1. Okay, number 2, obviously because that's vertical, it's going to start with x equals, because it goes through my x-axis. And what number does it go through? 8. Alright, so that's what you'll do on 3 and 4. Look at the bottom where it says directions for 5 through 8. All I have given you is a single line, x equals 4. All you got to do is graph that one line. You don't have to tell me if it's parallel or anything, because it can't, if it's just one line, it can't be parallel, right? On the back, one last thing. For the last 4 problems, numbers 9 through 12, now I'm giving you 2 lines. So I want you to graph both of these lines and then tell me if they're parallel, perpendicular. It does say or neither, but I'll go ahead and tell you none of them are neither. They're either parallel or perpendicular. All right, that's it.